Hi, I'm Brian. I'm going to give you an example of how to generate over $8,000 a month in passive income. If you're not familiar with what passive income is, then you're in the right place. There's many ways to generate it, but I'm going to give you one specific example that you can put into action for yourself. But before we get into that, if you don't mind, subscribe so you can see future videos and hit that like button, leave comments. I'll get back to them as soon as I can. So let's talk about what passive income is. The basic definition is you're able to generate income on a monthly basis or whatever basis it is, weekly, monthly, yearly, and you don't have to do anything to generate that income. Obviously, that is what everyone desires, right? Now, how do you do that? Think about your basic checking account. You put some money in, you get an interest rate, and money appears in your account and it compounds over time. Okay, I'm going to give you an example of an ETF, and we're going to discuss specifically dividends and then the power of reinvesting and compounding. So I'll have a calculator that I'll show you how to use. In the example that I discuss, you can change the variables to fit your situation. And hopefully at the end of this, you'll say to yourself, well, this is something I should probably look into, whether it be purchasing stocks that provide dividends or funds like the ETFs that provide dividends, whatever it may be, passive income and the power of investing and reinvesting over time so that it can compound. The example I'm going to use is an ETF, and the ticker is QYLD. I picked this particular one because, full transparency, I happen to own this one, and I have quite a few that provide dividends, and they pay out on a monthly basis as opposed to a quarterly basis. So typically what will happen is, let's say you invest in a particular ETF, and they say that they pay a dividend, or it says online the dividend is 10%. They express it as a dividend, but it's really a share amount. So usually if you have one share of a stock or one share of a fund, they will say, well, they're going to pay out, let's say, 10 cents per share. So over the course of a year, you'll get 10 cents for every share that you own. Usually they pay out quarterly, so they would break that up into 2.5 cents after 3 months, 2.5 cents after the next 3 months, and so every 3 months, some money will appear in your account. Let's say it's your brokerage account where you hold the stock. Some will pay out monthly, so that at the end of each month, if it's, let's say, make it easy, let's say it's 12 cents per share. You have one share. So at the end of the first month, you get a penny. At the end of the next month, you get a penny, you get a penny, you get a penny. So how do they come up with that dividend yield that they talk about? Well, it's based on looking at the price of the share that you paid versus what they're paying you per share. And you do the math, and you'll be able to determine that yield. So if I were to purchase it this week, and you purchase it a month from now, and you got a cheaper price for the stock or the share of that fund, or the share of that ETF, which is what we're talking about today, an ETF, then since you paid a lower price, it'll look as though your effective yield is greater than mine because your price is lower, but you're getting the same amount of money per share. So hopefully that makes sense. Now let's talk about dividend reinvestment. So if you were to get $10 and it's $10 a share, then you would immediately buy another share. And most of the brokerages will allow you to set up automatic reinvestment, so you don't have to do anything. As soon as it hits the account, it buys more shares. Okay, so let's say for sake of argument, the difference between yearly compounding versus monthly compounding, just to make it easy. The same goes for quarterly versus monthly. You have a certain number of shares, let's say 100. If it's compounded on a yearly basis, you have to wait till the end of the year to get your dividend in cash and then buy more. But if it comes monthly, then as soon as you get that dividend, it can be reinvested and you can buy more. Well, how are you paid? You're paid on the number of shares. So if you have 100 shares in January and you're able to buy one more with your dividend, you now have 101. So then you're going to get paid per share, but you're getting that amount of money, let's say it's 10 cents for 101 shares. A month goes by, you get a dividend of cash, you buy another share, you have 102. Now you're going to get that dividend per share on 102 shares. So as you can see, if it's quarterly, you're going to have to wait 3 months before you receive a dividend, reinvest, and purchase more shares. If it's monthly, you get your dividend at the end of the month, you receive it, you purchase more shares, so your share count's going up faster. It's not a huge difference, but it does make a difference over time. when you're compounding. Okay, so that's the power of compounding and why I picked this particular fund, ETF, for the fact that it gives out monthly. Now we're going to put that into the calculator. So we've got this particular fund, and we're going to look at it over a course of 30 years. Here's how I'm going to do it. In this calculator, you're going to see we're going to choose 30 years. We're going to save $400 a month. We're going to start out with $0, and every month we're going to put in $400. Why did I choose $400? I thought it was a decent amount based on the average amount of money people make per year across the U.S., and it's now significantly less than your typical average car payment. So it's almost like buying a small car, and you're just going to save that amount, $400 every month. And hopefully this will encourage you to start saving. Then the rate right now, the effective yield, is 12.66%. Now that can go up and that can go down because the share price can change over time. So it's not a perfect example, but we're going to hold that for the entire 30 years, 12.66. We're going to compound it monthly, which means every month that we get a dividend, we don't use it, we reinvest it in more shares. And then, importantly, is the last factor, which is taxes. So when you receive dividends, it's income, and you're going to have to pay taxes on that. Now, there's short-term, there's long-term, there's many different ways in which you can account for the dividends you're receiving, but you're going to have to use, not myself, I'm not a financial advisor, but your tax accountant based on your particular situation. So I just chose a number of 25%. Of course, there's federal tax and there's state tax. I said, let's just do across the board for the next 30 years. So to recap, nothing's invested. You're going to, when you start, you're going to put $400 a month, a 12.66% yield, reinvesting the dividends into more stock on a monthly basis. We're going to take out 25% in tax. We're going to let it grow for 30 years. What do you end up with? You're going to end up with just over $812,000 over that 30-year period of time. A substantial amount. That's the power of compounding and reinvesting. Now, what's also interesting is you'll see from this calculator, and this is one reason I really like it, it shows you how much you invested over that time. You invested $144,000. So if you take all of the time that you put in $400 a month, you reinvested the money, you invested $144,000, and you ended up with $800,000. That's substantial. Obviously, if I were to tell you, hey, if you invest $750,000, you're going to end up with $800,000. You'd think, no, I don't want to do that. That's terrible. Right. So you want to see, what did you put in? What did you get out? Now, what does this mean? At the end of 30 years, in this example, we're going to say, all right, we stop reinvesting. So we take the money out and we use it, almost like a retirement fund. You'll be earning over $102,000 a year, which is just over $8,500 a month. So by putting in, under these circumstances, the $400 a month, you'll end up with over $800,000. It'll be generating over $100,000 a year. You're not doing anything. And that's $8,500 a month in cash that you'll be able to use. And I like to encourage people to get out of debt, use credit cards to your advantage. I think they're very powerful. You can get a lot of benefits from them. And then when it comes to your finances, you want to make sure that everything is getting better over the long term. You're growing your net worth. So start thinking about saving, investing, and obviously passive income. Play with the variables yourself. And when you sit down, whether it's yourself or with your significant other, and you're trying to budget and plan out, and you're fighting over whether you should save or shouldn't save or how much you should save, pull out this calculator, put some numbers in, watch their eyes glow, and then you'll say, okay, now we're on the same page. Because it always helps to look at something like this and see the significance of what seems like a nominal amount of money, $400 a month, yielding almost $1 million over a 30-year period of time. So I hope this has been helpful. Thanks for watching. And please do subscribe, leave any comments or questions, and I'm always trying to get back to them as fast as I can. Thanks.